Ensemble is a instrumental jazz trio. I'm on keys, Jamie's on drums, Matt's on bass. And the idea is we wanted to have a little jazz trio that's very flexible, but the heart of it is to tackle sort of modern UK jazz, because there's a big scene that's been emerging in the last like 10 or so years, and it's a really unique sound, and basically we wanted to latch onto that and bring it to the masses. In terms of jazz, in terms of American names, one thing you turned me on to was Robert Glasper. To me, he may as well be Elvis. That was the first and primary inspiration. It was the Black Radio album, wasn't it?
I think it was, yes. Yeah, the first one, because he's done a few.
He has, yeah.
It's a very good album.
And but personally, and I know Jamie's the same, we always respected jazz, but never loved it. But listening to...
Yeah. It's quite hard to get into.
Matt was always a jazz head. He was always listening to all sorts.
Yes, I mean, come from a very heavy metal background, lots of rock, really intense music. And then as I've grown and matured, like a nice cheese or a fine wine, I've listened to more of these two. And they actually introduced me to Robert Glasper and his work, which is phenomenal stuff. And I came across a band relatively recently called Gogo Penguin. And they're quite big on the sort of modern jazz scene, and they're a trio, I believe.
Yes, they are.
They work really well together. So quite a lot of our inspiration has come from them and how they work together as a group. So obviously their communication is brilliant, the way they musically play and riff off each other is really impressive. And once I introduced those guys to these two, we all really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
So it's been a big melting pot of ideas.
Do you know what? I really think that there's a very particular UK sound that's coming out now. And I think it's very clear to me that these are people who didn't just come up listening to the obvious classics, you know, Coltrane, Miles Davis, what have you. They also grew up listening to garage, jungle, dub music, you know, and you can hear that in the jazz that they create, the electronic element, the groovy element. Dare I even say some of the heavy side of it. And you can tell that these people grew up with dance music. And that to me is really cool and really interesting. And
it's really fascinating to take those elements and blend them with improv, with, making stuff up on the spot, and with the traditional band sounds as well.
Absolutely, yeah, because a lot of that stuff is done on a sampler, and now these jazz bands, they're doing it on real instruments and mimicking what you would create on a computer, which I think is just so cool, and it's uniquely British. But look, I think every town needs something going on, and it doesn't have to be the same thing, you know, but
there does tend to be a generic pub-friendly covers type of band, which we find a little bit monotonous.
This is very true.
Yeah, we just wanted to shake things a little bit and try some other stuff as well, not just the usual classics.
You can only hear Sweet Caroline so many times, you know, and I just think it's nice to, as Matt's saying, bring some of that modern jazz, and it doesn't have to be something that there's an existing market for. You know, when we first started this thing, it was like, who are we selling this to? Don't know. I actually don't know, but clearly the numbers don't lie. People are turning up for it. I would dare to say we're giving people something that they didn't know they wanted. At the festival, we're doing three things actually. So we've got two guests with us. So the first set will be with a fantastic young vocalist called Soraya Ray. She's very versatile, but to our ear, I'm sure you all agree, she does sort of jazzy, soul-y, R&B type stuff, ballady, like dark stuff. Not just bright, sunny music, but quite dark,
emotionally charged.
That. And our second soloist is another young phenom, Harry Bennett, saxophone player. Into Guildhall, so he's a mean player. Like his playing, like I would liken it to, you know, the Flames logo on a Hot Wheels. That's what it's like to me. Just I'm just there happily comping away on the chords. I'm going, and he's just ripping it. You know, I won't do it justice in words. It's got to be seen to be believed.
It takes time.
It's going to be experimenting with. How do I put it in a few words?
How do you put it?
Notes between notes.
Something called microtonality, which basically is music beyond what the normal Western music scales will allow you to play. So that involves some, to put it delicately, specialist musical equipment.
Which I'm building.
Which he is building from scratch, might I add. So we're put up in the ante in terms of the tech. Material we're going to do as a trio at the festival, that original stuff, is going to be on an album that we hope to put out a little bit later this year. So we're recording, we've got some, I can't say who, but we've got some very, very exciting guests who are going to be on the thing, and we're just so excited to bring something a bit different and a little bit experimental to all of you. 5th of June at Wycombe Arts Centre is going to be absolutely tremendous. You already know who's headlining. Man, am I excited for that, just to see the funkiest man in Buckinghamshire with his funky band. And yeah, this is, we have a saying to ourselves, which is, well, it's not the craziest thing we've done, but in this case,
We might not be able to say.
I think it actually is.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Please come support us, come support live music in High Wycombe. We need you. We absolutely do need you. Come down.